Hi everyone, welcome to a rainy, cold, and gloomy day at my house. I have to say that I love it, even though it is weather that not everyone would enjoy. Here in this part of Texas, it is hot and humid the majority of the year. So when we have these days of cold, gloomy weather, I love to take advantage of it and have a very cozy, quiet, hygge sort of day. So that's my plan for today. This is Saturday, so Saturday before Thanksgiving. And my plans for today are to read. I started rereading A Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett. Haven't read it since I was a kid myself. It's a children's book, that classic that most of you may have read. This edition is really beautiful, has illustrations by Tasha Tudor, and is the one that I remember from when I was a little girl. So I'm excited to read it again. It starts in winter time, takes place in London and Victorian England. So it's very appropriate for this time of year. I think it gives a very cozy vibe. So I'm excited to read this again. I also will be joining in with Kate Howe's Kindred Spirits Club discussion today. That's a monthly club that she's put together to read as a group, cozy, life-softening kind of books, things that are just warm and make you feel good. Some of them are children's literature, some of them are adult literature, modern classics. So if you like that sort of thing, it's just a wonderful group of ladies who get together and discuss these books. So this month's book is Family Sabbatical by Carol Ryrie Brink. We read the first book in this duology earlier this year. That one is called Family Grandstand, and this one is Family Sabbatical. So it's really a simple kind of story. It's about a family. It's written in the 1950s. A family that lives in a college town. The father's a professor. The mother is a writer, an author. And they have three children, a girl named Susan, a boy named George, and a little girl named Irene, but she goes by Dumpling, which is just too cute. And they're just a really sweet, loving family. They get into different scrapes and adventures. The first book takes place in their college town. This book takes place when the father goes on sabbatical in France for 6 months and follows the children as they go through adjusting to life in France. So it's just very sweet. It actually ended up being very perfect for this time of year because it's very festive. So a big part of the book takes place at Halloween. Then there's Thanksgiving as they figure out how to celebrate these American holidays in France. And then there's Christmas, which is very touching, and they see the different traditions in France and make their own special traditions there that they'll always remember. So it's a very sweet book. I highly recommend these two books if you enjoy classic children's literature. As for the rest of my Saturday, I have a pound of cannellini beans soaking in the kitchen. I recently placed an order from Rancho Gordo, who is a specialty company in California, who raise all sorts of interesting beans. And it's always fun to get an order of those. Usually once a year I'll get an order. And especially in the winter, fall and winter time, it's fun to cook with those. So I have a recipe that I want to make this evening. It's called smoky tomato and white bean soup. So it sounds really delicious and warming. And other than that, just kind of be taking it easy, have the fireplace going in the living room tonight, and just maybe watch a movie. So we'll see how it goes, but I will take you along for at least part of this day. And I thought as I was sitting here waiting for the Kindred Spirits Club to start, I could go through the books that I have in my to-be-read pile, or really a pile of possibilities for the Christmas season in December. So I'm not the best at following a strict to-be-read list, but I do love putting together a big stack of books every month and just seeing what I'm in the mood for. Sometimes I'll add to it. A lot of times I won't get to all of them, but there's something just fun and exciting about putting the list together and seeing what you might want to read during the month. So for December, I do have a few books I feel pretty sure I will read. One of them is Marian's Christmas Wish by Carla Kelly. So this is a Regency romance from the 1990s. Carla Kelly is a really classic Regency romance author, and Kate Howe's Patreon group will be reading this together. So I'm excited to read this. I read it first about 5 years ago and really thought it was sweet and fun and perfect for, the festive season. A little bit nervous because I did recommend this book to Kate for the group, and so of course I'm hoping everyone will enjoy it as much as I did. But it's really a fun book, so if you're looking for some kind of lighthearted historical romance for the season, definitely recommend Marion's Christmas Wish. The Kindred Spirits Club book for December is The 101 Dalmatians by Dodie Smith. I've never read this one, but I did love Dodie Smith's book, I Captured the Castle, which I read for the first time last year and absolutely adored. So I'm very excited to read this. Most of you may have heard of or seen the Disney version or versions of the 101 Dalmatian stories, Cruella de Vil and all of that. This is where it began. And from what I've heard, it has a good Christmas vibe to it as well, some Christmas scenes. So I'm looking forward to reading that with the Kindred Spirits Club in December. Another book I'm looking forward to reading in December is The 12 Clues of Christmas by Rhys Bowen. It's part of the Royal Spinus series of cozy mysteries that takes place in the 1930s. It's very charming. I started reading it last year and just absolutely love it. The heroine is named Lady Georgiana Rannoch, and she is a distant member of the royal family. She has no money. She's very poverty stricken. She has a brother and a sister-in-law who are always struggling for money and struggling to keep their fancy manor house up and going. She's always trying to find ways to make money. In one of the books, she becomes a maid, which is really comical. And then Queen Mary, who's the queen consort at the time, tries to find ways to help her as well. A lot of times it's by doing spy missions or acting as an amateur sleuth for things the queen wants to know about. Somehow murder always finds its way into Georgie's life one way or the other, and she ends up trying to solve these crimes. So it's very fun. There's a romance element that runs through it. There's kind of mysterious, handsome man named Darcy who, is her love interest, and so it's very fun. Very lighthearted, and I think it will be a perfect cozy mystery to read by the fire in December. Another book I'm hoping to read in December is Miracle on 34th Street by Valentine Davies. So this is a very beautiful copy that I just recently got. It's a replica of the original version that was published, I think, in the 1940s. Of course, I've seen the classic movie multiple times that stars Maureen O'Hara and Natalie Wood and John Payne. I think it's from 1947. And it's just completely charming, adorable. Edmund Gwenn, of course, plays Santa Claus. Can't forget him. Kris Kringle. So it's a fun movie, and I thought it would be fun to read the book as well. So basically, it's about a little girl who's very cynical. She doesn't believe in Santa Claus. And the department store where her mother works hires a man who claims he is Santa Claus. And so adventures ensue from that. And of course, the little girl learns the true meaning of Christmas this way. Another book on my list of possibilities is The Christmas Hirelings by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. It's a very brief novella, so hopefully it could be just an afternoon read one of the days that I'm off on vacation for Christmas or on the weekend. Mary Elizabeth Braddon, I've read only one other of her books, which is Lady Audley's Secret, which is a Victorian sensation novel and just an absolute roller coaster ride of a book. So this book I think is probably a little bit different, more of a cozy and warm story, perfect for the holiday season. Another book I have on my list is a collection of short stories or novellas by Truman Capote. So one of them is A Christmas Memory. There's also one called One Christmas and one called The Thanksgiving Visitor. So hopefully The Thanksgiving Visitor, maybe I can get to that one this week during the run-up to Thanksgiving and pick up the others during December. Next up on the pile of possibilities is A Child's Christmas in Wales by Dylan Thomas. I'm really not familiar with this, although I've heard the name of it over the years, but I'm excited to read it. It's a very brief book. This one is illustrated by Trina Shart Hyman, and is just absolutely charming. The pictures are so pretty. Let's find some others. So it's just illustrated all throughout, and it looks so warm and just perfect to read at this time of year. So I'm very excited to check it out, and it's another one that's very brief, so it won't be too much of a commitment to pick this one up in December. The next book in my pile of possibilities is a children's book. It's called The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, and it's by Barbara Robinson. So I haven't read this one before, but I have had it recommended to me a couple of different times, and it just sounds like a lot of fun. I believe this is also set in the 1950s. Let's see. No, it was published in 1972, so it's a little bit of an older book, maybe not quite as old as I thought. But it's supposed to be really funny about children getting into some scrapes as they plan for the best Christmas pageant ever. So we'll see how that one goes. I'm looking forward to it. One book that's a reread that I'm very excited to read in December is Winter Solstice by Rosamund Pilcher. And here's a beautiful picture of Rosamund on the back. I just adore this author. She is one of my favorites ever. And I actually only read her books for the first time last year. So the first book I read was Coming Home. And I've read all 4 of her big novels. So she has 4 really big chunkers. Winter Solstice is one, Coming Home, The Shell Seekers, and September. And then she has multiple other shorter books as well. The 4 big ones are my favorite. And Winter Solstice is so good. I read it last December, and I already want to read it again. So the thing about Rosamund Pilcher is that she writes so well about family, found family, friendship, warm domestic scenes, and just sort of the everydayness of life, but makes it so special. And nobody can write cozy domesticity the way she does. So this story, it basically follows a couple of older people. The man is a widower. He befriends this other older woman, and they decide to go off and celebrate Christmas together. And then as they are, the man is still in mourning for his late wife, and as they're together during that period, other people sort of join in, relatives, friends, and they end up having sort of a found family for Christmas. So it's just very warm and cozy, and I can't recommend this one enough. I'm really excited to read it again. Okay, speaking of Rosamund Pilcher, this is another book that is about her. So this is actually called Christmas with Rosamund Pilcher. So she lived in Scotland, at least most of the year, I believe. And it's just a book that's about her and her family's Christmas traditions, different recipes. So, you know, it seems like her life was very much like the cozy vibe that she had in her books. So I'm very excited to read this. There's also a short story, a Christmas short story that she wrote that's at the end of this book. So it should be a really fun read. Recently, Gina, with her Instagram is called Bab's Beloved Books, and she read this and just loved it. So I know I will love it too, because she and I have a very similar taste in things. Another book that I have in my pile of possibilities is Christmas in Cornwall by Marcia Willett. Marcia Willett was a British author. She passed away, I think, just earlier this year, actually. And she wrote a lot of kind of domestic women's fiction type books. She's compared very often to Rosamund Pilcher, and I can definitely see why. She writes a lot of stories also sort of found family, of family dynamics. She has a lot of domesticity in her books as well. I mean, to me, no one compares to Rosamund Pilcher, and I do enjoy Marcia Willett's books, but she maybe doesn't live quite up to Rosamund Pilcher, but still very enjoyable. I've liked the books that I've read from her, so I'm excited to try this one out if I have time in December. And finally, in my pile of possibilities is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. So this is one that's a top priority for me to read. I'm very excited to read this for the first time in many years. I watch the movie version, one of the movie versions, at least every Christmas season. I normally watch the 1940s one with June Allison as Jo. And I just find it really charming and sweet. It's a quick movie, filmed during the MGM the peak of the MGM studio system. So it's very fun. I also really love the 1990s version with Winona Ryder as Jo. So those are my two favorites. And sometimes I'll watch both, but I usually will at least watch the 1940s version. This year I wanted to read the book as well, though. This has been such a long time. And I just recently got this version, this hardback version that is from, this particular one is from the 1980s. So I remember a friend of mine when I was in elementary school had this copy, and I used to look at it at her house, and I just thought it was so beautiful. So I'm excited to have my own version. It's published by Grosset and Dunlap, and it's an illustrated junior library edition, and it's really beautifully illustrated. So it has color illustrations throughout the book. Let me find another one. There's another color illustration, and then it also has black and white illustrations throughout as well. So it's just really highly illustrated, and it's just a beautifully put together book. And the font's so lovely, just the way it's laid out is so nice. It has blue sprayed edges on the pages, so I think it's just going to be so much fun to read it. It's one of those books I just want to hug it because it's so pretty. So very looking forward to reading Little Women again. So that's my pile of possibilities for December. And let me know what you plan to read in December. Do you have any special holiday reads that you're looking forward to? Kindred Spirits meeting was so much fun. It always is. The ladies who are in that group are so insightful and smart and just so kind. So they always make it a pleasure. So if you're interested in that kind of book, again, I do recommend checking out Kate Howe's YouTube channel and signing up to participate. It's really a lot of fun. After the Kindred Spirits meeting, I started making some soup. The soup I mentioned earlier with the cannellini beans, tomatoes, roasted red peppers. It smells really good. It's simmering away on the stove as I talk. So I'm looking forward to having that tonight for our dinner. And probably read some more of my book. And I also try to watch every year the Friends Thanksgiving episodes, because they're some of my favorites and they're always very funny. So that's my plan for the rest of the cozy evening. And thanks for coming along with me today on this special rainy, cold hygge day in Houston. Bye.